We have a library, and we have a framework. Okay, so the basic difference between a library and a framework, a library, hold on, let me just add somebody else that joined. A library is a set of tools. Okay, so this means that, for instance, jQuery is a library. Let's say jQuery. So jQuery is a library. That means that it gives you tools. In this case, the tools are methods and classes and stuff like that that help you develop something faster. Okay. So normally those tools, those methods are on top of a programming language. So for instance, jQuery is on top of JavaScript. So actually, if you use a jQuery method, behind that, you are using JavaScript. Some people prefer jQuery. I personally prefer JavaScript. But basically, it is just a set of tools. Okay, so the how to use them depends on the I don't know how to write developer. Okay, so if I have a whole bunch of tools at my disposal, I can use them any way I want. Okay, I can use this method or that method, but the actual the way that the application is structured is on me, on the developer. I decide how to use those tools, and I decide how to structure my application. Okay, a framework is also a set of tools. Let me add somebody else here. But it's also a way to work. How do we put this? Somebody joining. Okay. Okay. A framework, besides being a library, besides having all the tools of a library, also tells you how to structure your application, how to work. Okay, so for instance, .NET, which some of you have seen, is a framework. It not only tells you how to, not only gives you tools to develop, but it also tells you, or let's say suggests, but basically tells you, directs you on how to use those tools and how to set up the entire application. So .NET, Angular, and a whole bunch of other frameworks not only give you the tools, but also gives you a way to work. Okay? Aguilera, you're joining twice. So how to use them depends on the framework. So the framework tells you you have to use them this way, or you have to set up your entire project this way. Okay? Tool libraries only tell you here, these tools will make this easier. So like I said, jQuery, high charts that we use, those are all libraries. .NET, Angular, etc. are frameworks. They not only give you tools, but they tell you how to use them and how to structure your entire application. Okay? Any questions with that?
The framework is the how use the tools of the we did something like that.
The framework is going to tell you, okay, these are the tools, but also this is the way we suggest that you structure your entire application. Okay, remember how we created our PHP backend, and we had the folder for the models and another for the connection and stuff like that.
Oh,
well, that was, we were kind of creating a framework. I was giving you the tools, but I was also telling you how to structure your application. So a framework is going to tell you how to structure, how to build your application. Okay, because it has already a solution. It tells you, okay, this is the way the developers that build the framework are telling you, this is the way that we think that you should create your application. And with our tools, this is the way that we suggest you build your application. Okay? A library just tells you, hey, here are some tools, work with them. Okay? Let me see if I can find a nice explanation here.
Practically, it brings us help, right?
What was that?
That the framework, the difference with the library is that just bring us help with the application.
Okay, let's see. Here's a list. Let's see what it says, because I haven't read it. A library is a set of reusable functions. I remember functions, methods, they're the same thing, okay? We just call them a little bit differently in different languages. So when you hear method or function or even procedure, they're all the same thing, okay? So they're basically methods that you use over and over again because they're simpler to use, okay? Framework is a piece of code that dictates the architecture of your project. So the framework is not only going to tell you, give you the tools, but it's also going to say, okay, this is the way you have to set up your project. This is the way you have to set it up, okay? We're giving you not only the tools, but the whole structure of how to set it up. Okay, you are in full control. When you use a method, now they changed the term from function to method, but again, it's the same thing. So when you use the method in a library, you use it any way you want, okay? When you use it in a framework, you have to use it according to the framework, how the framework works, okay? It incorporates seamlessly. Seamlessly means that you don't notice it. So you can just add a file, let's say a JavaScript file that has certain methods that you use, and just add them. You don't have to create the whole project around that file. And with the framework, you have to create the whole project within the framework. This one, you can just use a method or two and not worry about it. They are important in program linking and binding process. They provide a standard way to build a deploy application. Well, this one, again, they are telling you how to create your application. Example of jQuery is a JavaScript library that simplifies DOM. Remember, we use DOM, document object model, to manipulate the elements of the document. Again, we use JavaScript, we didn't use jQuery. Example, AngularJS, a JavaScript-based framework. Okay, this one, again, the framework tells you not only the tools, but how to set up your application. Okay, so a framework is bigger than the library. A library is just a couple of files, like when you download jQuery. Let's say you download jQuery, you download a file, and that's basically it. You add it to your, so there's a whole bunch of different versions of jQuery, and you just add it to your file, to your, it's not here, but you just add it to your scripts in your HTML file, and that would be it, okay? Okay, so we understand the difference between a library and a framework?
Yes, I think I have cleared that. More clear.
Well, somebody says the framework is like having several APIs. API is the product of a framework, meaning that is the result, that is what you are doing with the framework. There are back-end frameworks and there are front-end frameworks. Back-end frameworks work with the database, and in our case, we use them to create APIs. So the API is not the tool, the API is the result, is the product. We are using a back-end framework to create an API, okay? The API is not the tool. And there are also front-end frameworks, which we use to connect to APIs and show them in our website. So for instance, let's say back-end frameworks. We'll see a couple of these, but not, you're gonna have to explain them a little. So let's say top 8 best back-end frameworks. Laravel is gonna be there, Ruby. Okay, so remember, front end is what the client sees, is based on JavaScript, and it connects to the API, right? Front end, back end is the one that connects to the database and creates the API, handles the request and all of that. Okay, so front-end development, a front-end developer is in large part responsible for what the user sees. The 3 main tools of front-end developer, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We've already done that. User experience and all that. Okay, back-end developer, on the other hand, works with nuts and bolts, meaning the hard code behind the scenes. The user doesn't see that part, and it creates libraries, API, web services, and all that stuff. Okay, so backend frameworks, Laravel is based on PHP. Laravel is a PHP-based backend framework. Cake PHP is also PHP. Django is Python-based. Ruby on Rails is, well, Ruby. The Ruby is the programming language, and Ruby on Rails is the framework. Flask is also Python-based. This one I haven't heard of, Phoenix. I have heard of this one, Express. I haven't heard of that one. So I'm gonna ask you guys to study them and do a little tutorial about them and show us how they work. So front-end frameworks, Angular is going to be there. Again, they put jQuery, but jQuery is not a framework, it's a library. But sometimes there's a little debate on whether something is a library or a framework. So you're going to have Angular. Okay, you have React. They're all based on JavaScript, okay? That's basically, the front end is JavaScript. Open source. I remember the document object model. We need that part. You're going to have Angular. This is the one we're going to see. TypeScript is kind of like JavaScript. It's a little bit better, but it's kind of like JavaScript. Vue.js. That's Vue.js, but like this, not like this. Okay? So we have those three. These are the basic ones: React, Angular, Vue.js. The others are a little bit less. jQuery again, this can be a framework. It's actually a library, but whatever. Let's see if there's a debate on that. jQuery library or framework. What happened? jQuery library. Oh, there he is. Okay, strictly speaking, jQuery is a library. So they're kind of, again, there's a little debate on whether or not it's a library or is a framework. It's a library, but it meets the definition of a framework, although many would argue jQuery doesn't meet the definition of framework, but whatever. There's a little debate there whether or not jQuery is a library or a framework. This guy says it's a library, not a framework. This guy says jQuery is a framework. So there's a debate there. Okay. So let's go back to what we have to see. It's in Spanish. Hopefully you can read it. So we have two units. One is front end, and the other one is back end. Okay. Now we've already seen this in last quadrimester. I tend to go a little bit faster than what the curriculum says. So we've seen a lot of this. So we're basically going to see a little bit more of it. Make sure that we understand it correctly. We're going to do other things. And we're going to use a couple of frameworks to see what would happen. We're going to do, for instance, the JavaScript. The front end, we're going to do JavaScript, and then we're going to use a framework, and then you're going to understand why developers jump from doing it what we call vanilla JS. Vanilla JS means just JavaScript. So when you say vanilla JS, it just means using plain JavaScript. Okay. There's a vanilla JS framework, but basically when you say vanilla JS means that you are just using JavaScript. There's a transformer there, monkey. I don't know. Okay, here's one in Spanish. So anyway, I agree with this. You should learn JavaScript before any framework, because then you will know what the framework is doing, and you can get a little bit inside of it and modify a couple of things. So again, we're gonna strengthen our knowledge of JavaScript. We're going to change a couple of things. We're going to strengthen our knowledge of PHP. We're going to change a couple of things there differently from what we were using last quadrimester, because, well, I didn't teach you everything last quadrimester, so I want to teach you a couple of more things. And then we'll go to frameworks, okay? We're going to see Angular in this case for the front end, and then we're going to see, I don't know, maybe .NET for the back end, okay? So, as you can see, front end fundamentals, front end, what exists, well, just told you what exists, which are basically, if you want to include jQuery, but basically these three, Vue.js, Angular, and React, Those are the mostly used front end framework usage. So we'll probably see a chart here. Oh, one that I understand. Oh, here's one. Okay, so React, Vue.js, and Angular. Okay, these are backend frameworks. I don't know where they put Laravel or Flask or Ruby on Rails on the front end, but the most used are these three: React, Vue.js, and Angular. These are for 2020. Well, JavaScript, but these are programming languages and stuff like that. And that's not what we're looking for. Something else. This is something else. Okay, so again, React. Where's this from? Backbone, Require, Angular, and there's no Vue.js. I wonder when this is from. Last year, but I don't think that's correct. Well, here, this is correct. Vue.js, React, and Angular. These are the ones. I don't know about, well, Angular is very small, but anyway. Okay, so a little bit of what there is in the market. Then we have to see how to install the framework. That one's easy. You just in actually I'm sorry. I forgot the name. In the library that we used to develop, something happened to my brain. In Visual Studio Code. I forgot that part. Okay, you can just open a console and we'll install it there. So I think I already have it installed. So I'm going to show you how to install Angular. Okay, it's not that hard. You just use a little bit of command lines to install it, and then a couple more command lines to create your project. Okay, so we're going to see that. This is kind of simple. Describe the elements that are part of a website, also forms and content and images and buttons and all that stuff. We have already seen that part. It identifies certain structure elements. Some we have, like header and nav and footer. We're going to use a couple of others. This part is new. We need to get to really work on this part, UI UX. Because, well, you guys are a little bit lacking on that part. So UI UX is user experience and user interface, meaning that you have to actually create a web page that is easy for the user to navigate, to understand. There's no confusion. Everything, the user can almost instinctively navigate the website. Okay, if you can do that, then your page is correct. If the user has to jump around the page and trying to look for something and can't find the button that it requires to purchase, or there's no confirmation that the purchase was done, the payment was done, stuff like that. If your website doesn't work that way, then it's not correct. So we have to get a lot into UI UX. Okay. So we're gonna get in a little bit into UI UX. Okay. You guys, your design skills are also a little bit lacking, so you have to do a little bit more research into what a website should look like, because you're using the colors that you're using don't match your website. So we have to make that a little bit better. Okay, so we're gonna get a lot into this part, UI UX. Prototyping, for instance, there are websites, hold on. For instance, prototyping. This one, XD, is pretty good for prototyping, but unfortunately for me, it is only for Windows 10. And the computers that we got from the school have Windows 7. So I can't use this one. Let's see if there's a tutorial, something like that. So anyways, a prototyping tool where you just drag and drop stuff. This is for a mobile website. And you create your prototype before you actually design or create your let's see. A quick one. Here's one that lasts 4 minutes.
Hi, my name is Ethan Perry, UX designer in Adobe XDI, and in this tutorial you will learn how to create basic prototype interactions such as time and tap. Let me show you how. Let's start prototyping. In order to do so, we first need to go to prototype mode. So let's click prototype. We're now in prototype mode. And let's select our first artboard. More specifically, let's select this button. So as you can see, once I selected, there now is this blue arrow. If we click on that, an interaction will be created. We can drag it to the other artboard. The border will turn blue. And so why don't we do it that way?
So what he's doing right there is when you click on the start shopping, it's going to go to the other page.
It will transition and go to destination of home. I'm actually going to take off the easing for now, but you can choose to ease in, ease out, snap, wind up, or bounce, depending on what kind of easing you would like. In this example, I'm just going to click that. So once we click that button, it will take us to this page. Let's do something similar for when we click on the banana group, making sure I have this.
So again, what he's doing is just going from one
Let's actually make it just
page, one activity to another activity.
And then if we clicked on Kiwi, it will go to this page. Now, Adobe XD remembers your interaction. That is why I didn't have to change anything in the Properties Inspector, because the last interaction that I did,
Let's see, he's going to play it
we can
there.
see what our prototype is starting to look like. So if we click on Start Shopping, it will then appear to this page. We can scroll down and see the different options. And then if I were to click on Kiwi, it would take me to the Kiwi page.
Okay.
Now, there are other...
So basically, we're going to use some prototyping tools to to design both the graphic design of your website and the flow of your website. Meaning, from here you go to here, you go to here, you go to here. Okay. So Wix equals Adobe XD. I'm not sure. No, Adobe XD is just a prototyping tool, meaning that you don't get a functioning prototype or a product. The only thing you see is something that you might show a customer, a client. this is how your website is going to look, okay? And possibly your team, your development team, this is how we're going to do it. But you're not going to get a finished product with actual functionality, okay? It is only a prototype, how it's supposed to look, okay? Wix, I'm not sure the technology that it uses, but it actually creates the website. And the reason you're saying that they're the same is because Wix has a drag and drop tool. Remember, drag and drop? Hold on. Drag and drop means that you drag a button and you drop it someplace and then it's part of the page, okay? So yeah, Adobe XD and others are just prototyping tools. You use them to design how your website is going to look. So the customer is going to say, yeah, I like that. That works. So now you get to develop the application. Okay, you don't continue from Adobe XD to create the application. It is just to show what it's going to look like. Okay. So we're going to get into that, a little bit of prototyping. Again, HTML, CSS3, that we already know that. Okay, we're not going to get too much into animations and stuff like that, or templates. We're going to create them ourselves. We're not going to use, just download a template and that's it. Then this gets a little bit more into programming that we've already done, like loops, methods, events, form validation. We haven't done that. We're going to do that. Requests, we've already done requests. So we're just do them again with the framework. And just make the site work. Okay, that is the front end part. The back end part, again, you need to install the framework. That's about it. So I think that I have shown you this before, right? So remember, this is the back end frame part, and the back end. Let me see if I can get on like a. There you go. So this is a front end, back end. Okay. Change colors there. So the first thing that happens in the back end is we know that it kind of model view controller. So MVC. So this is the model, the M part. The controller. This is the controller, and there is no view. Normally, the result would be a view, which would consist of, I don't know how to write with this thing, but HTML and CSS and all that stuff, right? Okay, so that would be the view. But in our case, we're not going to use this part. We're going to return a JSON element. So instead of MVC, we're going to use models, JSON controller, okay? So the way we're going to do it is the request in the URL, the request, we're going to change it a little bit from how you used to do it. After your site, you're going to see the controller here that says products. So the router is going to read this part and it's going to say, okay, product controller, deal with this request. There are going to be other controllers. Maybe there are store controller, so you can find the stores, or I don't know, special controller or sale controller, whatever, different controllers that manage different requests. So depending on what it says here, is which controller is going to handle that request. And router is the one that reads. There's a question in the chat. That's already been done. So the router is going to read this part here, and then once it reads it, it's going to tell which controller to handle the request. Okay? Now remember, the request has different actions. So normally, since this one is going to read the information because we want to see it, I forgot to change this part to products. So maybe this one is going to be a get. Okay, so the controller is going to look for, these are called actions. Get is to read information. Okay, retrieve information, a list of products or whatever you want. Post is to save information to the database. Put is to modify already existing information. And delete, well, is to delete information. So we have the four basic actions. In APIs, we call them get, post, put, and delete. In normal database application, we call them CRUD, which would be C, R, U, D. So CRUD stands for create, read, update, delete. So it's the same thing. Okay, so something gonna be CRUD. CRUD means that it needs to be able to create new elements, update, well, actually read, update existing elements, and delete existing elements. But in the API, we use get, post, put, and delete. And normally in get, since this method was a get, then this action is the one that's going to handle it. We know that it's the product controller, and within the product controller, the get action is the one that's going to handle this because it was a get request. And as you can see here, it has an ID. So we're only wanting to get one product information, the information from one product. So we're going to use this action, and this action is going to go to the model, is going to execute this query. Select start from product where ID equals 1001, which is this one, and is going to return that information. Eventually, is going to return it in JSON format. Okay, so that is the back end. Now the front end, the request is done with Ajax, which we've already done in our application. We use fetch. And once it gets the information, we use DOM. I forgot to write it down here. And remember, DOM stands for Document Object Model. That term, you should have it memorized, okay? So DOM is Document Object Model. And it is the whole basis of JavaScript, okay? Of a dynamic website. A dynamic website will change the content of its website, and depending on the information it reads. And in order for us to be able to change the content of a website, we have to use DOM, which is Document Object Model. We have to go into the different elements of the website and modify them, okay, or add them, which again is something that we've already done. But we're going to do it in a different way using JavaScript templates, which is going to be maybe a bit simpler. Well, it is going to be simpler, but last quadrimester I wanted you to suffer a little bit with DOM. Okay, so now we're going to do it a little bit easier with JavaScript templates. Okay? So in the front end, you will use JavaScript to send the request. And once we receive the request, we use DOM to modify the content of the website. Again, that's what we use JavaScript. HTML is the structure of the website, and CSS, well, it makes it pretty. And remember, the way we set it up is if you want to create an app, the app also does a request in a different manner, depending on the programming language. If it's for Android or for iOS, it also does a request. And when you receive JSON, it parses. Parse means to understand something, to make sense of something. In this case, to read the information and understand it and be able to use it here. Let's see what the actual definition of parse is. I put parse. Well, this is in programming because it is actually a word that means to make sense of, separate and make sense of something, to understand something. Okay, so parsing is you get a string of symbols and then, that's good. Okay, here's a guy explaining what parsing is. But it's just taking information from maybe text, maybe string, different elements. Let me just erase all of this. And see, that's an explanation. And converting it to something that you understand, like classes and stuff. So you can be able to manipulate it. So turning a string into another data structure. So we get the actual result that we get from JSON is a string, and then you convert it to JSON so you can use it. Okay. So where were we? So we're here. Okay. So again, we've used a little bit of this since the last quadrimester. So we're gonna add a couple of things here and make it work kind of like a framework. We're gonna do it kind of like in Angular. We're gonna try to emulate Angular in this case. And then when we see Angular, you're gonna say, oh, wait a minute, Angular is easier. Well, yeah, it is supposed to be easier because the framework is already your tools and the structure that you need. So you can say, well, why JavaScript? Because again, you need to understand JavaScript to understand what the framework is doing, okay? And then once you know JavaScript, whatever you want to do with the framework, it should be easy because you can get inside the framework and do whatever you want. If you don't know JavaScript, then you just, you're not going to be able where you want within the application. You're only going to be able to do the really basic stuff. The same with the back end. We're going to do it in PHP, and then we're going to use a back end framework. And you can say, oh, well, this is easier. Yeah, it's easier because it's a framework, but you need to understand what's going on with it. Okay? Any questions?
No, I think no.
No, okay.
You sure?
Sure.
Okay, so at the end of this quadrimester, you can create a project. I'm not sure, let me see. What, where is it? Here it is. Okay, not this one. This is your curriculum. That's what you have. Probability, that's math. Project administration, digital modeling. This is ours. No, actually, no, this is ours. This is virtual reality. So you get a little bit of virtual reality, but also our class. Okay, so we can't actually work with virtual reality or digital modeling or any of these, so we're gonna have to work alone. So let me just do this. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna create a website in Teams, so you can participate in the normal end of quadrimester projects. Okay. If you create something for virtual reality and stuff like that, that's something separately. Okay. You can maybe, if you want to incorporate it in your website, you can, but if not, you're going to have to do this project anyway. Now again, normally if you participate in the expo, I give you an extra point or an extra credit for that. But if you don't, well, maybe you get an 8. But anyway, even if you participate or not, you are going to have to create a project as teams. Now, your project is not going to be about Internet of Things like we did it last quadrimester. It's going to be something more along the lines of an online store. But it's not going to be as simple as an online store, okay? Meaning you're not going to just list products and purchase them, do a little shopping cart and finish. Okay, that's very simple. You're not going to do that. You're going to do something that is customizable. You understand what the word customizable means?
Yeah.
I think it's written that way. Okay, what does it mean?
Is that we can change it or make it different like that?
Yeah, make it the way you want to make it, okay? So you're going to create a website that's going to have two things. One, you should be able to filter the products that you have. And then obviously every time you filter something, you have to go to the back end, to the API, and get the information that you filtered. So for instance, if you're purchasing a smartphone and you say, I only want Apple. So you go to the back end and you send only Apple products. You don't send Samsung or Android products, okay? So you're gonna be able to filter it. Second of all, and say the fun part, you're gonna be able, the user is gonna be able to customize the end product, okay? And you're gonna use, for this, you're gonna use something like SVG to change the different elements of your product. Sorry. So tell me, for instance, what would be something that you could customize?
A hoodie.
Or
Yeah?
A hoodie.
Imagine a website that the user can customize the product and purchase it. So give me examples.
A hoodie.
Hoodies, right? Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so hoodies, t-shirts, sweatshirts, stuff like that. You can select the color and maybe upload your logo and put it on the web on the hoodie and change the colors or put a name tag on. Let's say you're doing like polo shirts for like a business, so you're gonna put the names, different parts, stuff like that. So clothing of hoodies, t-shirts, polo shirts, stuff like that. What else could you customize?
Cool.
Vehicles? Well, yeah, you can customize that. It's gonna be kind of hard to send them to the customer, to add them to the shopping cart and send them to the customer. That's gonna be kind of hard. So something smaller that you can customize and purchase online.
Shoes?
What was it?
Shoes?
Shoes?
Like sneakers?
Not much of that, but yeah, I've seen like like Nike shoes or Vans or Converse. They change the structure, the design of it. So yeah, you can customize shoes. Here's another one.
Office items.
What type of items? Yeah, like the one I'm going to show you. Here's one. This is for business cards. Okay. So you're going to create business cards, and this website has been around forever. Vistaprint. Okay. So what you do is you browse designs. So let's say this one. This is the material, and you look for a design that you like. So here you can actually, filter the search, which is something you're gonna do. And let's say I want this one here. So I want this design, and then it takes me, eventually, okay, to a designer. Not this one. Okay, there it is. So what it does is, this could be SVG, and you can basically just eventually or you're supposed to be able to add elements here. It's taking a while. Well, I haven't added anything, so let's say I enter here, John Smith, and then this word. Okay, so I can supposed to be able to drag it. Can I? There you go. So I put it here, and maybe John.Smith at mysite.com. So you can customize it, and then you can purchase it. Okay, you can select the quantity or whatever, and then purchase it. Okay, add it to the cart. So you're gonna do something like that. Okay, so business cards. I want you guys to think stuff that you can customize. Okay, and that the user you can actually send to the customer. Okay, not like a car or a home, because you're not going to be able to customize that or to send that. Okay, so again, the requirements are that you that you have a backend where you have your products and your basic, in this case, their templates business cards. So I can filter them. In this case, for let's say modern or classic or technology or whatever, I can select them. And then once I have that, I can go into a page and customize it, change colors. You're not gonna do it like this. I don't think you'll be able to just drag and drop stuff and stuff like that. But maybe the back part you can do it in SVG. The text elements you can do it in SVG and stuff like that. You can do a lot of stuff with SVG, and then add them to the shopping cart. I'm going to show you how to do a shopping cart and then purchase them. Okay, you're not going to do PayPal or anything like that. We're not going to do that part. We're just going to end with we're actually going to do the page like you're paying, but it's going to validate the card, 16 digits and stuff like that, and say that it purchased it. Okay, and that's about it. We're not going to get into payment methods. That's a little bit harder. Okay. You're going to do this if you want to do it in Angular, for instance, you can do it in there, or you can do it with just JavaScript. That's going to be on you. I'm going to show you JavaScript, and you're going to do a little project JavaScript, but the end result, you're going to select whether or not you want to do it with Angular, which is fast, should be easier, but it has a learning curve, and you have to know exactly what the framework is doing, or you can do it with basic JavaScript. Okay, both ways I'm going to show you how to do it. And the same for the back end. You can do it basic PHP, or you can do it in a whatever framework you want. Are there any questions with this?
When we are going to present the project?
At the end, should be in April.
All right.
I'm going to give you some examples. Here is for invitations, like for your wedding. Anybody here wants to get married? Nobody?
Not yet.
No, thanks.
Okay, so it's also, let's say this one. Or for the guys, well, actually, girls also. Why discriminate? Girls are gamers too. I'm not a gamer, but so you can maybe select the type of controller you want and customize the colors and stuff like that. Okay. I heard that you can do that. That's good. So let's see the invitations. So you can select the wedding invitations, create your own. So you select the product. And I'm assuming it's going to be similar to this one. I haven't seen it. I don't know what scuff means. But, you know, you get the idea there. Another team way back did skateboards. With different designs, they would change the colors and stuff like that. There's a bunch of ideas. Again, first come, first serve. So that means that the first person that This one doesn't allow customization. So the first team that gives me their idea, is gonna use that one, and the rest, well, you have to do something else. Okay, how many students are there in this group? Thank you. 33. By the way, I need to talk to the 4 students that are going to do a special report. Are they here? No, not here. That's it, only the colors. You can actually do this with SVG. You can see the edges are not the best there are, but you can see the edges there. Okay. Okay, so we have one person that has to do the exam, and that's it. I don't know about the rest of you. So teams are going to be made up of, let's say 3 people. You're 33, so that's 11 teams. So 3 should be enough. 4 is a lot. So choose wisely, because if you choose your friend that you know is irresponsible or might drop out of school or something like that, you're going to be in trouble. Okay? So, so make sure you choose somebody wisely. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to change a little bit the structure of the class. So we're going to have to change. We're going to have to go first. Well, not a lot. We're going to have to go to UI UX, so you understand how the page should work, and then we're going to go to prototyping, and you, as a team, you're going to have to show me your prototype of your website. Okay, individually, you're going to have to do some work with JavaScript. Okay, and the front end. Well, actually, we're going to do the JavaScript first. Okay, so again. First unit, as a team, you're going to show me the prototype of your project and the something individual, okay? And then with JavaScript. Then second unit, there's only 2 units here, but actually we're going to have to change it a little bit. Second unit, we're going to do a little bit of back end or front end, and then third unit from back end. Well, half and half. Okay, the match correctly, so we'll have to figure that out. Okay, so the first thing we do is get into UI UX and understand those concepts, and then you're going to do your prototype. Okay, so you can start working on your project. Once you show me the prototype and I approve of the prototype, I'm going to be the customer. Once that's done, then you can start working on your database and your, well, you know how to do the database, you don't have to do it again. And, you know, start actually doing your project. But first things first, I need to see the prototype. And in order for you guys to do the prototype, I need you guys to be able to understand UI UX and understand colors and understand different concepts and do something professional. And remember, the same thing I've always told you. Vista print. The same thing that I've always told you. Don't go overboard with the colors. As you can see, this one is just white, black, and the actual products are the ones that, I have a bunch of stuff here. I remember a team did calendars like this, and they would upload images for every month and specify special dates. So they would come in the calendar. It was kind of cool. Hats, t-shirts. They have a whole bunch of stuff here. So again, the background should be a background. No crazy colors, no crazy backgrounds, only white, only gray letters, dark gray letters and stuff like that, a simple logo, because the products are actually what should be noticeable, not the rest of the part, not the background, okay? The only thing I don't like too much about this is that the logo is red, but the colors are blue. So they look a little bit strange, but okay. Okay, so we need to understand those concepts so you don't do something kind of crazy or something from the 90s. And here they are. And easy to identify everything. Okay? Understand?
Understood.
Yes.
Professor.
Yes. Understood.
Okay, so we'll start that next class. When is that?
Friday.
Here's my schedule.
And Friday.
Friday. So Friday we'll start with UI UX, with all those concepts, and then we'll get into prototyping, and then we'll get back to JavaScript. Okay. So right now I want to speak to the students that have to do the special exam. Apparently there's only one here. I don't know about the other three. I think there were 3 of you, but I don't know where they are. So the rest, I'll see you. Hold on, just don't go yet. I need to see. Okay, 31 students. Okay, so the rest you can leave, and Alvarado and I don't know who else has to stay. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
See you Friday.